Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 41 296 Sixfold Samsara Burning Karma Technique. 41st of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The Twin Rice Sect had been exploring the underground immortal mansion for 1,000 years, naturally accumulating some spirit platform blazing starstone fragment. Internally, they needed these fragments to cultivate top-tier spiritual masters and fallen soul seeds. Externally, they used them to recruit followers through coercion and persuasion. In short, they consumed every fragment they found. Moreover, most of these fragments were sent to the Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall, leaving very few for the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall. Spirit platform blazing starstone was incredibly expensive, with a small fragment costing 150,000 Xuanhuan coins. Don't think it's too expensive, Elder Shu said, it's the ultimate treasure for spiritual masters to condense their spiritual power Nianli stars. This price is only available at the Divine Sect's headquarters. Even if you tried to buy it elsewhere, you might not find it, and it could easily be marked up double the price. The world's top powers maintain their dominance by artificially inflating the prices of key cultivation resources, creating barriers to entry and solidifying their status among the ancient myriad elite. Elder Shu, known for his cold demeanor, added, if you trade this Dao Lotus, I'll give you an additional 5,000 drops of spring liquid. Li Wei was at a critical stage in his pursuit to become a 3-star spiritual, psychic master. Only by breaking through could he hope to challenge the fourth divine son Wang Shu. After all, Wang Shu was not only powerful himself but also had numerous true inheritance disciples as allies. Gritting his teeth, Li Wei finally agreed. Li Wei, holding the spirit platform blazing starstone fragment and 23,000 drops of spring liquid, left the resource treasury with Elder Shu, a man of gentle temperament. He still had several hundred character artifacts he had seized, which could fetch a considerable sum in Xuanhuan coins. But he dared not buy any more spring liquid. To buy more would be too extravagant. The 23,000 drops of spring liquid certainly wouldn't be enough to fully cultivate his ancestral field. He'd have to find another solution later. Next, Li Wei and Elder Shu arrived at the Spirit Pavilion. The Spirit Pavilion was a crucial location within the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall, shrouded in a powerful formation. Even true inheritance disciples had to report their presence before entering. The formation could only be opened from within. The Spirit Pavilion was guarded by Anshanjing's eldest disciple, an unfathomable figure. The formation was opened by a mere thought of his, yet he remained unseen, his location within the pavilion unknown. Li Wei had no interest in the scriptures. After all, Master Coffin and Master Guan had already taught him the Dao Seed Realm chapters of the Heavenly Demon Manual, and the Night Emperor's Record, leaving him with a choice. He had spent the past few days pondering them, actively preparing to condense his Dao Seed. He had come to the Spirit Pavilion because he was interested in the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall's 4 great techniques. Even a behemoth like the Twin Rice Sect possessed only a few of these treasures, yet here he could freely browse them. How could he miss such an opportunity? Elder Shu led Li Wei to the 3rd floor of the pavilion, explaining as they walked, the Divine Sect possesses 10 great techniques in total, with the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall holding the most, claiming 4 of them. These are techniques cultivated by great powers of the immortal realm. Normally, Dao Seed Realm cultivators are only permitted to practice them if they possess the inheritor talent. True disciple Li, do you know why? Li Wei naturally understood the reason, replying casually, the Dao is fundamental, while techniques are merely tools means. Only inheritors have the greatest chance of reaching the immortal realm in the future. By cultivating a great technique, they can hone and refine it throughout their entire lives. Technique and Dao complement each other, advancing together. Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivators without the inheritor talent should focus their time on martial mystic path cultivation. Breaking through to immortal realm should be their primary goal. If they become fixated on great technique cultivation and delay their path to immortal realm, they will surely regret it after 100 years. Elder Shu laughed and nodded. There are exceptions, of course. Take the 4th divine son Wang Shu, for example. He encountered the great technique, Golden Armor Mountain Moving Technique, while still in the 5 Seas realm. After reaching the Dao Seed realm, he actually mastered it. His comprehension is simply unparalleled. He transformed from a mortal into a divine son. Li Wei suddenly stopped, gazing at a bookshelf over 2 meters tall to his right. Clearly labeled on the shelf were the words, Golden Armor Mountain Moving Technique. Do I really need to read so many books to cultivate the Golden Armor Mountain Moving Technique? Li Wei was astonished. The shelves held hundreds of volumes, covering every aspect of the art, fundamental principles, danger levels, resource categories, the integration of Dao and technique, and the mechanics of martial strikes. A great technique like this seemed to require a lifetime of study, a discipline demanding countless hours of research. Elder Shu returned to the bookshelf, smiling. Over here, we have the insights of generations of practitioners. After all, everyone's constitution differs, so their cultivation methods and the resources they use naturally vary. Elder Shu dispelled the rune, retrieved the core text of the Golden Armor Mountain Moving Technique, and handed it to Li Wei. Intrigued by Wang Shu's Dao technique, Li Wei began to read. The Golden Armor Mountain Moving Technique was the cultivation technique of the ancient Bhagavata sect's Golden Armor Warriors, the sect's protectors. First level, Golden Armor Body Protection. A Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivator can master this level in a year, achieve minor mastery in 3 years, and potentially reach major mastery in 10 years. Second level, Mountain Moving Giant Strength. A Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivator can potentially achieve major mastery after 20 years of diligent cultivation, forging the Golden Armor Mountain Moving Dao Lotus. Third level, True Form of Mountains and Peaks. A Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivator can potentially achieve major mastery after 40 years of diligent cultivation, forging the Golden Armor Mountain Moving Dao Fruit. The more Li Wei read, the tighter his brow furrowed. This was taking far too long, severely hindering his cultivation of the martial mystic Dao of immortality. Unless he could achieve what Wang Shu had done, mastering the first level in just 3 years, manifesting golden armor body protection, his skin as though clad in law-infused robes, and his physical strength surging threefold in a short time, forcing even inheritors of the same realm to avoid his blade. I wonder if the 12 dispersed hands of the Chan sect will undergo a transformation after reaching the Dao Seed Realm, and if its power will rival a great technique. Li Wei had no certainty. Cultivating great techniques often required the aid of rare resources. For example, mastering the first level of the Golden Armor Mountain Moving Technique required Golden Buddha Sand, Earth-Vein Profound Qi, and high-grade blood crystals. Depending on one's constitution, additional precious herb aged a century or millennium essence herbs might also be necessary. Li Wei only knew to practice the 12 dispersed hands of the Chan sect through inertia, constantly seeking out his weaknesses and comprehending deeper mysteries and the traces of law. This relied entirely on his own comprehension. There was no concrete or systematic method to pursue greater power or higher levels. No scriptures, insights, or incantations, only the moves his master had taught him and the divine essence he was meant to capture. If he continued cultivating like this, it was highly likely that the 12 dispersed hands of the Chan sect would long ago have transformed, becoming a unique attack techniques tailored solely to him, belonging only to him. He felt as though the 12 dispersed hands were copying, sensing, and connecting with the divine essence and attack methods of 12 extraordinary beings. The second great technique of Spirit Valley, Lingu Hall was the Snow Burial Cold Hell. First level, Burial Snow Sword Qi. Second level, Ice Soul Divine Sword. Third level, Cold Hell Descent. Fourth level, Netherworld White Bones. Li Wei's mind turned to Yaoyin. If he could first resolve the threat of the cold Qi, her jade-shattering ice soul body would be perfectly suited for cultivating this great technique. Attempting it before resolving the cold Qi would be a death sentence. Closing the general outline of the Snow Burial Cold Hell. Li Wei's heart stirred as he recalled what his fourth uncle, Li Songolin, had once said. Yao Qian's sword Qi was the burial snow sword Qi. Once it entered the body, it would freeze the tendons and bones, coagulate the blood, and cause the flesh to rot. Its destructive power was terrifying. In essence, a single strike from his sword could instantly obliterate even a Dao Seed Realm body. Could his burial snow sword Qi cultivation be related to the Snow Burial Cold Hell? The fact that Yang Qingxi and Yang Yun had been sent to the main hall for advanced training suggested a deep entanglement between the Sui sect and the Twin Rice sect. This might be the key reason behind the Sui sect's rapid rise over the past millennium. Li Wei didn't believe that Yao Qian, as the Sui sect's first commander, had no connection to the Twin Rice sect. How deep the connection ran was another matter entirely. The Spirit Valley Lingu Hall's third great technique, the sixfold samsara burning karma technique, piqued Li Wei's interest. This was a Buddhist great technique left behind by the ancient Bhagavata sect. And Shanjing had once said that Li Wei's thought flame was as powerful as a first-level Dao technique. At that time, she had likely been referring to the first level of a minor technique. In Li Wei's view, if one were to cultivate Dao techniques, they should maximize their inherent advantages. Since his psychic, spiritual power was fire attributed, he naturally chose fire attributed martial mystic Dao techniques as well, allowing the two to synergize and unleash their ultimate destructive power. First level, Ember Annihilation Finger Technique. Mastery in a decade. A finger's swipe melts gold and iron. Second level, Karma Burning Wheel. Summon a fiery wheel around your body. Your body is the axis, the flames are the stone, crushing all living beings and purifying dead spirits. Third level, karmic fire transformation, piercing straight to the Tao fruit. Condense flames into forms like the Luan bird, golden crow, phoenix, or rock river. 1,000 transformations. Fourth level, Vajra's wrathful gaze, great Tao of immortality. Fifth level, glazed purity flame, 100-mile wildfire. Sixth level, sixfold great Mahayana, burning heaven and boiling the sea. The cultivation time for each layer was nearly identical to that of the golden armor mountain moving technique. Mastering even the first 3 levels would take over a 60-year cycle. Elder Shu, noticing Li Wei lingering beneath the shelf holding this technique, remarked, "True disciple Li has a discerning eye." However, this technique is notoriously difficult to cultivate and carries immense danger. The slightest misstep can lead to being consumed by karmic fire and perishing. In the divine sect's 1,000-year history, fewer than 10 people have ever reached the 4th level. Only 2 have mastered the 5th level. And only 1 has ever achieved the 6th level, our Spirit Valley Lingu Hall's current Hall Master. In Li Wei's mind, Hall Master An's ordinary and serene appearance surfaced, causing him to exclaim in surprise, "Hall Master An cultivates such a domineering great technique of destruction." Elder Shu wore a look of pride, his eyes filled with reverence and admiration. After 3 centuries of arduous cultivation, Hall Master An achieved the sixfold great Mahayana, mastering the battle prowess to incinerate the heavens and boil the seas. Across the entire world, she stands as one of the few transcendent experts. After reaching the 6th level of mastery, Hall Master An sensed that the technique's power and essence were not yet fully realized. She once speculated that this great technique might be more than it seemed, perhaps the first 6 chapters of an imperial technique. But for reasons unknown, these first 6 chapters only possess the power of a great technique. Elder Shu produced Hall Master An's manual, Sixfold Karma Burning Technique Insights, and handed it to Li Wei. Li Wei carefully examined it. As a spiritual master, his comprehension and reading speed were exceptionally swift. With his psychic, spiritual power attached, he could memorize each page with a single glance, then turn to the next. In moments, he finished reading the entire manual. He closed the book, closed his eyes, and fell into deep contemplation. After a long exhale, he murmured, "If a great technique is already so profound and intricate, what must an imperial technique be like?" Elder Shu, does the divine sect possess any imperial techniques? Li Wei knew that imperial techniques, like supreme artifacts, were exceedingly rare throughout the Lingxiao realm, each renowned for its immense power. The 6 major powers, each with tens of millions of followers, each possessed only a single imperial technique. TL, 12 dispersed hand techniques of Chan sector probably transcendent martial mystic techniques. Although they might appear weak compared to other techniques right now, it's probably due to Li Wei's insufficient cultivation strength. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 42 297 The Seat of the Divine Sun. 42nd of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Elder Shu said, legend has it that the divine sect's imperial technique, the 3000 starry Bhagavata, is recorded in the Book of Radiant Stars. It's said to harness the power of celestial stars from beyond the heavens for both cultivation and offensive attacks. But imperial techniques are difficult for even immortal realm giants to access, let alone master. Only those transcendent beings, with lifespans spanning thousands of years, can slowly decipher them. By mastering the imperial technique, they can then strive for the ancient emperor level, dominating countless living realms in Yingzhou and becoming its true rulers. Li Wei pondered for a moment before clasping his hands in a respectful bow. Thank you, Elder Shu, for your kindness and guidance today. I will remember it. I'd like to continue studying the sixfold samsara burning karma technique for a while longer. If you have other matters to attend to, please go ahead. Ha ha ha. Elder Shu, impressed by Li Wei's tact and understanding, laughed heartily and departed. Being favored by Venerable Nan, possessing extraordinary spiritual power talent, and being chosen as her eldest disciple and sole heir, Elder Shu believed that extending some goodwill and offering limited assistance wouldn't be a bad thing. Li Wei was completely absorbed in reading the various volumes of the sixfold samsara burning karma technique, opening a new chapter in his cultivation. For this fervent martial mystic path seeker, it was an endless source of delight. Each book he read felt like a great harvest. He didn't emerge from his reading until Yao Qingshan arrived at the spirit pavilion. Accompanying Yao Qingshan was a handsome, dignified young man in a green robe. A brilliant crystal in the shape of a grain of rice grew between his eyebrows, and his pure immortal physique radiated an unfathomable aura of strength with every gesture. This was the first divine son, Changji Daozi. Earlier, he had been discussing the situation outside with Yao Qingshan. The past year had been the most turbulent in the Lingxiao realm's history. Venerable, rest assured. I will certainly look after the southern purity Nanqing Palace. Young disciples need competition to stay motivated and energetic, of course, all within the bounds of the rules. Changji Daozi smiled warmly at Yao Qingshan, then glanced indifferently at Li Wei as he emerged from the spirit pavilion. He stepped into the fine rain and misty haze and departed without exchanging a word with Li Wei. The Tao heart manifestation of grain rain cleansing dust washed away everything, leaving only the ethereal, holy silhouette of his back. As Li Wei and Yao Qingshan left together, he asked, that person just now had such powerful cultivation. Is he a major figure from Spirit Valley, Linggu Hall? The first divine son, Changji Daozi. He ranks among the top 10 in the Jiazi register and surpasses most prefecture-level first rankers. Only the imperial court and the first commanders of the 5 great ancient myriad factions can contend with him. Once he emerges, he'll surely shock the world. Immortal realm is merely a matter of time. With Yao Qingshan's talent and combat prowess, having defeated the soaring cloud Nanqing first commander Zhuoqiu Ling at the same cultivation level, her standards were exceptionally high. In her eyes, Changji Daozi's talent was merely decent. She praised him to motivate Li Wei, giving him a goal to strive for. Li Wei knew why Yao Qingshan had changed, 6 great, to 5 great. One of the 6 great ancient myriad factions, the Zhu tribe, had a current first commander, Yao Xingyu, her brother, whose strength fell far short of the top 10 in the Jiazi register. In fact, Yao Xingyu couldn't even defeat Li Prefecture first commander Yao Qian. Of course, if she were the Zhu tribe's first commander, the outcome would be different. Yao Qingshan said, Shooting Sheng said you want to return to the surface to carry out a mission. Li Wei knew the question concealed danger. He cautiously replied, Master, rest assured. Even if I return to the surface, I will never reveal any information about the divine sect. If you dare leak anything, the death spirit fire will activate. After all, if something happens to you, I can't escape blame, Yao Qingshan said. Li Wei replied, Actually, Master, I have no intention of returning to the surface for now. I'd like to stay at headquarters and take advantage of the safe and superior cultivation environment and abundant resources to improve myself. With Master and Palace Master An's protection, I feel I've forgotten all about Li Prefecture. Yao Qingshan stopped walking and glared at him coldly. I've never taken a disciple in my life. You're the first. Once a master, always a master. Between us, there's no need to be so guarded. Speak honestly. Li Wei didn't believe her for a moment. He quickly repeated, Master, I'm being sincere. This place is so enjoyable, I've forgotten all about Li Prefecture. The divine sect is completely different from what rumors say. We are not a heretical sect. Yao Qingshan continued walking. What you've seen is only a part of the divine sect. Those who come to headquarters for cultivation are all geniuses, groomed to become elites. At the top of any faction, there must be the best methods of instruction. Only then can the faction thrive and endure. But the divine sect has another side. We must cultivate countless believers and disciples, who are our steadfast supporters and fearless defenders. Good and evil coexist within every faction. When good prevails, the faction is righteous. When evil prevails, the faction is wicked. Good and evil are merely 2 different styles of action. The divine sect needs someone like Palace Master N, who leans toward the righteous path, to cultivate our elite young seedlings. The cult has reached a critical juncture where it must establish a firm foundation of righteousness, or it will face eternal ruin. Yao Qingshan spoke delicately, but Li Wei understood perfectly. And she had been so thorough in her explanation. Li Wei asked, Master, are you leaving headquarters? The world's situation is in constant flux, and the southern territory is second only to the western territory as a vortex of storms. As the leader of the 7 prefectures of the southern border, how could I remain uninvolved? The divine sect can no longer hide. The time has come for us to reveal ourselves. Our years of concealment were merely preparation for sweeping across the world, Yao Qingshan replied. Li Wei asked, what about Tang Wanzhou? He's been taken over by Zhu Tianshu, the vice palace master of the heavenly principles Tianli Hall. Yao Qingshan continued, you must be wondering why the divine sect, with its countless experts, hasn't sent them all to hunt down Tang Wanzhou, right? Li Wei pondered for a moment. Given the current tense situation in the world, I imagine every immortal realm giant is holding a crucial position. If they were to disrupt their formations for Tang Wanzhou, they'd expose more weaknesses and lose sight of their overall strategy. I suspect Tang Wanzhou is just a pawn on the chessboard, and the divine sect is truly wary of the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. Seeing Li Wei's leadership aura, Yao Qingshan stopped there. If you want to carry out missions on the surface, you may. But you must first reach the strength to defeat a fourth heaven Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivator. Whether or not one has condensed a Dao Lotus is the dividing line between true inheritance disciples. More than half of the Zhu Li tribe's 9 useless clan leaders have only condensed a Dao Lotus. Once you possess such strength, you can come to the surface and assist me. Many matters in the southern territory, in my opinion, can only be handled by you. Li Wei asked, I just need to defeat someone at the fourth heaven of the Dao Seed Realm. As they left Spirit Valley Lingu Hall, Yao Qingshan raised her eyes slightly and glanced at him. Dao Lotus martial mystic cultivators aren't that simple. You still have a long way to go. Alright, return to Southern Purity Nanqing Palace yourself. If you encounter an insurmountable danger, seek help from Chongji Daozi. When asking for help, remember to humble yourself. Whoosh. She shot through the air like a shooting star, transforming into a flying immortal and vanishing in an instant. Greetings, true inheritance disciple. Two twin ricefolk intersect female disciples, both around 18 or 19 years old and possessing pure immortal physiques, saw Li Wei standing beneath the Spirit Valley Lingu Hall stele in his true inheritance robe. They approached to pay their respects and seek guidance on their cultivation. Li Wei offered casual pointers, and both girls felt they had gained immensely. They knelt on one knee and kowtowed in gratitude. On the way back to Southern Purity Nanqing Palace, he no longer needed to hide. His true inheritance robe and the life token at his waist were enough to earn him respectful bows from every young disciple he encountered. Fourth heaven of the Dao Seed Realm is indeed considered a top-tier expert in this region. Even Shi Zhoujai, the renowned Dharma King, is only at the sixth heaven of the Dao Seed Realm. Li Wei strode forward with swagger, thoroughly enjoying his role as a true inheritance senior brother. Upon returning to the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace, he found a true inheritance disciple with a formidable aura already waiting outside. The figure, leaning on a spiritual artifact golden pillar as thick as a bowl, radiated intense coldness. Yi Nanfeng, under the fourth divine sun. Junior brother Wei, this true inheritance disciple has been waiting for you for a long time. Li Wei turned around. Another true inheritance disciple, identical to Yi Nanfeng, appeared, blocking his retreat. Li Wei glanced at the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace behind Yi Nanfeng and continued walking forward. You call me junior brother. My master, Venerable Nan, seems to have only taken me as a disciple so far. I'm the eldest disciple. I have no senior brothers. Yi Nanfeng said, don't play dumb. We brothers are here for Zuo Sheng. Release him immediately. We respect Venerable Nan and don't want to make this ugly. Today is your day of becoming a true inheritance disciple. If we injure you and force you to release Zuo Sheng, wouldn't you become a laughingstock at headquarters? Yi Baifeng threatened. Li Wei and Yi Baifeng already knew that Venerable Nan had left headquarters, which was why they dared to block the gate. Li Wei said, neither of you wants to fight, do you? Of course not, they replied in unison. Li Wei continued, Yang Yun should have told you, right? 50,000 Yongquan coins, and I'll release them immediately. Zuo Sheng was audacious enough to spy on my master outside the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace. My master is the divine sect's most beautiful woman, how dare he covet her? Such a crime cannot be forgiven lightly. Li Wei couldn't directly mention Qi Shao and Tuoba Buchuo. Everything had to be done with proper justification, within the established rules. He couldn't give them any grounds to seize him. Yi Baifeng snorted coldly, you killed 3 Dao Seed Realm experts, Zuo Shi, Wang Ji, and Wang Shaxan, simply because they were under Venerable Nan's command. Venerable Nan took full responsibility, allowing you to escape punishment. Now, you dare to try and rescue Qi Shao and Tuoba Buchuo. Are you a true disciple of the divine sect, or an enemy? Li Wei said, I don't understand what you're talking about. If you don't have money, get out of here. I'm in charge of the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace now. Anyone who blocks the gate will face the consequences. You don't understand, do you? Yi Baifeng pulled 2 bloody arms from his boundary pouch and sneered arrogantly. Even when beating a dog, you have to consider the owner. If you want to tarnish the fourth divine son's reputation, have you considered that your 2 friends might suffer as a result? Yi Nanfeng retorted, with Qi Shao and Tuoba Buchuo's cultivation, losing an arm won't kill them. Li Wei glanced at the 2 arms on the ground, then calmly drew his yellow dragon sword. Using 2 arms to threaten and intimidate a true inheritance disciple, and preventing me from returning to the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace, who gave you the audacity? Whoosh. Spiritual power erupted first, enveloping Yi Nanfeng standing before the palace gate, attacking his consciousness and spirit. Then, stepping on azure mist like an arrow piercing the clouds, Li Wei leapt into the air, sword raised high, and slashed down. He had to injure one of them severely before they could close in. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Shuangsheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 43 298 Even in a heretical sect, this would be explosive. 43rd of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Struck by the psychic power attack, Yi Nanfeng's mind momentarily froze, his reaction slowing. For any other 5C's realm martial mystic cultivator, except perhaps the top 10 heavenly prides from before the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, Li Weiyi's current psychic power attack would have instantly knocked them to the ground, their consciousness plunged into darkness. Knowing Li Weiyi possessed the strength to defeat Zuo Sheng, Yi Nanfeng had been on guard. He recovered in an instant, using his Dao heart intent to block the psychic power attack. His palm, as if stuck to a spiritual artifact golden pillar as thick as a bowl, lifted his arm, raising the pillar weighing hundreds of thousands of pounds like a golden mountain to shield him. Boom! The yellow dragon sword, lunging toward him, was blocked by the golden pillar. The clang of the impact echoed for miles. The force behind Li Weiyi's strike exceeded Yi Nanfeng's expectations. Combined with his delayed reaction from the earlier psychic power attack, Yi Nanfeng was forced to take a step back before fully neutralizing the yellow dragon sword's power. The ground beneath his feet cracked and then collapsed, forming a crater shaped like a shockwave. Not only has his psychic power reached the level of a 2-star psychic master, but his physical strength and martial mystic Dao power are also terrifying. No wonder Zuo Sheng couldn't escape. So this is the terrifying power of the Zhu Li Hidden Sect's Divine Hidden One. Yi Nanfeng was deeply shocked. Before coming, he hadn't taken Li Weiyi seriously. A young 2-star psychic master was no match for a martial mystic cultivator in the third heaven of the Dao Seed realm. It was only the older 2-star psychic masters who deserved respect. Age meant vast experience, and they would undoubtedly have refined countless talismans and formations. Only such spiritual masters could gain an advantage in clashes with martial mystic cultivators. Yi Nanfeng's heart was now filled with utmost caution, but his words remained dismissive. He laughed loudly. With your 2-star psychic master's psychic power, you think you can shake the Dao heart intent of a Dao seed realm, third heaven martial mystic cultivator. The third heaven is called Dao birth. Do you even know what that means? You're still too young to understand. Boom. Cloud-like spiritual chi erupted from Yi Nanfeng's body, completely shattering Li Weiyi's psychic attack with his Dao heart manifestation. Each strand of spiritual chi seemed to possess its own spirit, weaving through the surrounding space and attacking Li Weiyi from multiple directions. At the same time, the golden pillar in his hand, fueled by his Dao seed realm, third heaven spiritual chi, unleashed its full power. Countless scriptures materialized on the pillar, shooting out like a meteor shower. As Yi Nanfeng's spiritual chi approached, Li Weiyi's entire body erupted in pain, as if besieged by hundreds of martial mystic cultivators. This was his first clash with a Dao seed realm, third heaven martial mystic cultivator. The opponent's strength in every aspect had indeed undergone a monumental leap compared to second heaven martial mystic cultivators. It was completely different. Each wisp of spiritual chi contained Yi Nanfeng's willpower, allowing him to manipulate it at will. Moreover, his Dao heart intent was as unshakable as bedrock, impossible to sway. The first heaven was the Dao seed. The second heaven was the tremor. The third heaven was Dao birth. Tremor represented the Dao seed sprouting. Dao birth signified the Dao beginning to grow, ascending step by step. Techniques, spiritual chi, willpower, and spirit all connected with the Dao during this stage, leading to a qualitative leap in combat power. However, Li Weiyi had a trump card and naturally he wasn't afraid. Whoosh! Li Weiyi activated the blood handprint demonic armor. His body was enveloped in a blood mist, and the demonic armor's blood runes imprinted themselves onto his skin. His entire being radiated a terrifying aura. Stepping on the shadow of a yellow dragon, he shot straight into the sky, as if ascending to the heavens. The scriptures emitted from Yi Nanfeng's golden pillar spiritual artifact all missed their mark. Behind him, Yi Baifeng, who had launched a Dao technique attack, lost his aim. His spell struck the southern purity Nanqing Palace's gate, where it was neutralized by the formation's light veil. Against a Dao seed realm, third heaven martial mystic cultivator, my current physical strength can only be said to not be a hindrance. With my 7th C cultivation and the blood handprint demonic armor, a 9th grade 100 character artifact, I can hold my own against a strong second heaven Dao seed realm expert. My peak 2-star psychic master psychic power can also contend with second heaven Dao seed realm masters. If I use both powers well and coordinate them perfectly, I should have no problem fighting one opponent. But facing two opponents, I'm certain to lose. Li Weiyi, suspended in midair, mind raced. Should he immediately retreat into the southern purity Nanqing Palace to avoid a direct confrontation, or should he summon his 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors for a desperate battle? The fact that he couldn't use his 6 Zhongtal 12 battle technique intent and the purple heaven thunder seal was a major headache. The evil camel bell, the prefect's robe, and the Dao ancestor's Tai Chi fish were even more out of the question. Just then, Li Wei, who had ascended to 100 zhong in the sky, looked down and spotted Yang Qingxi's figure. She stood by the edge of a field several miles from the southern purity Nanqing Palace, wearing a striking azure robe that seemed to wrap her in a cloud of green. Her face was veiled, and her snow-white skin was dazzling even from above. She showed no intention of intervening. Li Wei knew her too well. Miss Yang never acted without a motive. If she didn't want to get involved, she wouldn't have come here in the first place. The reason she hadn't intervened yet was simply to gauge whether the supposedly crippled Li Wei, whom the ancestral field had crippled, was truly capable of standing against Wang Shu. After all, a year ago, not only had Li Wei been feigning his decline, but the Hidden Lord and the Confucian Dao ancestor of the Zhuoqiu sect had been helping him. Almost everyone believed Li Wei had fallen so low he'd attempted suicide. Whoosh! Li Wei dove downward like a meteor from the heavens, crashing straight into the Dao heart manifestation erected by Yi Nanfeng and Yi Baifeng. The image of the Fusong divine tree appeared, unleashing golden crow flames with overwhelming power. With a thunderous roar, Li Wei tore a small world of his own within the Dao heart manifestations of the two Dao seed realm, third heaven experts, forcing their spiritual chi to surge outward. His yellow dragon sword flashed repeatedly. Each strike produced a dragon shadow, and the dragon's roar echoed across the main hall. The battle between Dao seed realm martial mystic cultivators was a spectacle of immense scale and overwhelming energy, alarming everyone nearby. The formations around southern purity Nanqing Palace were activated by the spiritual chi and martial mystic chi radiating from the three combatants, causing layers of shimmering light to rise. Thanks to the blood handprint demonic armor, a 9th grade 100-character artifact, Li Wei's defense was formidable. Even facing two opponents, he could hold his ground for the time being. What's going on? Why are Yi Nanfeng and Yi Baifeng, two true disciples who've lived for nearly a 60-year cycle, teaming up against a spiritual master? And to dare to fight outside southern purity Nanqing Palace. They've got some nerve. That's Southern Venerable's new disciple. Rumor has it he's a 2-star psychic master. A 2-star psychic master. Impossible. Even with two Dao seed realm, third heaven true disciples working together, they can't take him down quickly. I'd believe he was a 4-star psychic master before I'd believe he was only a 2-star. The powerful battle at the main hall's 28 prefectures drew the attention of disciples from nearby prefectures, who flocked to watch the spectacle. Among them were many sets of twins, and not a few with pure immortal physiques. So this is the divine hidden one from the Zhuli hidden sect. Truly remarkable. It's only been a year since the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival. He's leapt from the 5 seas realm to the point where he can hold his own against two Dao seed realm, third heaven martial mystic cultivators. No wonder Southern Venerable took him as a disciple. Li Wei whistled, summoning 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors. He then shouted, Qingxi, I came to the divine sect just to find you. Aren't you going to show yourself and lend me a hand in subduing these two? The spiritual artifacts they're wearing are worth hundreds of thousands of Xuanhuan coins. Yi Nanfeng and Yi Baifeng were slightly alarmed, sending out their willpower to scan their surroundings. Yang Qingxi's affair with the divine hidden one of the Zhuli hidden sect was common knowledge. Moreover, Yang Yun had previously represented Li Wei in delivering a message to the fourth divine son's residence, further confirming this rumor. Seizing their distraction, Li Wei ducked low, his feet shifting nimbly as he thrust out his sword. Countless sword shadows materialized, the blade's tip resembling a dense constellation of stars, each point aimed at Yi Baifeng's throat, forehead, and other vital areas unprotected by his spiritual artifact battle armor. Yi Baifeng's protective spiritual chi was pierced, forcing him to retreat in panic. He sensed that the sword in Li Wei's hand was no ordinary weapon, effortlessly slicing through his defenses like paper. Li Wei pressed his advantage, simultaneously unleashing Tai opens the sea, and the Ruyi Chenkin sword, with one hand, while executing the heaven-turning palm seal, and Sihang enlightenment, with the other. His techniques flowed seamlessly, a torrential storm of attacks crashing down upon his opponents. At the same time, a fiery whip of light danced from Li Wei's brow, aiming to quickly crush Yi Baifeng. With their current strength, the 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors could only temporarily restrain Yi Nanfeng behind them, unable to stop him or buy much time. Ultimately, they hadn't yet reached the Dao seed realm. Yi Baifeng grew increasingly alarmed as the battle progressed, feeling like he was fighting two opponents at once. Li Wei, with his single body, was unleashing the momentum of two Li Wei's. Fortunately, a Dao seed realm, third heaven martial mystic cultivator could casually wave their hand to summon heavenly Dao law convergence, having already walked very close to the Dao. Yi Baifeng's body had almost no weaknesses, allowing him to barely withstand Li Wei's relentless attacks. Qingxi, have you found a solution for the 6 desires talisman I planted on you? I'm quite worried, Li Wei called out again, forcing her to act. The news was explosive, sending the young disciples who had gathered to watch into a frenzy. Yang Qingxi, the divine sex goddess, had cultivated the dragon seed Dao, promising limitless future achievements. Yet Li Wei had somehow planted a 6 desires talisman on her. The 6 desires talisman was no ordinary talisman. Cornered, Yang Qingxi could only stride forward, each step covering 30 meters as she tread the river of spiritual qi toward the southern purity Nanqing Palace. Her voice, clear and melodious, carried through the air, "No wonder you came to the main hall to find me. Could it be that the 6 desires talisman I planted on you has finally taken effect? What's going on? These two. They're playing too hard." The disciples of the Twin Rice sect couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Their reckless practice of planting 6 desires talismans on each other was shocking even by the standards of heretical sects. Yi Nanfeng and Yi Baifeng were naturally stunned as well. Simultaneously, a sense of unease crept into their hearts. They communicated through spiritual energy transmission, urgently discussing their next move should Yang Qingxi intervene. Their discussion concluded. Yi Nanfeng called out, "This is a private matter between us. Divine Maiden, please refrain from interfering. Yi Nanfeng will be eternally grateful. Li Wei killed the younger brother of the 4th Divine Son. Their feud is as deep as the sea. Divine Maiden, please show the 4th Divine Son some respect," Yi Baifeng added. Yang Qingxi arrived outside the southern purity Nanqing Palace, gazing at the chaotic battlefield. "When you were beating up my brother, Yang Yun, did you consider sparing me, the Divine Maiden, any face?" Li Wei, "I want 70%. Alright," Li Wei agreed. After all, she still owed 5 million Yongquan coins. Yang Qingxi wasn't afraid of her greed. As long as she dragged Li Wei into this struggle, she'd have no choice but to play along. Yang Qingxi, known for her decisiveness, saw that Li Wei's strength remained formidable, contrary to rumors of his decline after his ancestral field shattered. Without hesitation, she unleashed her Dao heart manifestation. Whoosh! A luminous river, like the surging Sui River, its water flowing in a solid form, roared as it crashed into the three-way battle. A 5th grade 100-character artifact level silver battle sword flew from her ancestral field and into her hand. She swung it at Yi Nanfeng. As a goddess of the dragon seed Dao, the Yang family knew she had no time to cultivate Dao techniques, so they had bestowed upon her a high-grade 100-character artifact. She was at the peak of the 2nd heaven of the Dao seed realm, capable of overcoming adversity. Boom! Yi Nanfeng's spiritual artifact, a 3rd-grade 100-character artifact, was driven back step by the silver battle sword's might, leaving deep footprints in the ground. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 44 299 Colluding in Desperation. 44th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Let's go. Yi Nanfeng was rational. He knew that with the two of them working together, there was no way they could rescue Zuo Sheng today. Yi Baifeng tried to escape, but Li Wei's spiritual power enveloped him layer by layer, trapping him like quicksand. He couldn't break free. Still trying to run. The 3rd heaven of the Dao Seed realm. That's all you've got. Li Wei, now facing only Yi Baifeng, felt the pressure ease considerably. He moved with ease, completely suppressing his opponent with the help of the 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors. Seeing no hope of escape, Yi Baifeng realized that Yi Nanfeng and Yang Qingxi were locked in a distant chase, leaving him with no chance of coming to his aid. Determined not to suffer the same fate as Zuo Sheng, Yi Baifeng took off his boundary pouch and released 2 puppet technique Strawman. He slashed his wrist and sprinkled his blood over them. "You have strange insects to help you," he declared, "but I have puppet technique to rely on." A ball of spiritual light appeared between Yi Baifeng's eyebrows as he activated the talismanic runes on the blood crystals within the puppet technique Strawman. Boom! Boom! The 2 puppet technique Strawman exploded with a burst of black mist, coming to life. Each wielding a dagger and short sword, they flanked Yi Baifeng, attacking Li Wei in tandem. Moving like wraiths, they moved with incredible speed, mastering both body techniques and swordsmanship. The puppet technique Strawman weren't crafted by Yi Baifeng, he was merely their controller. Yi Baifeng's spiritual power cultivation was limited. At long distances, he could only control 1 puppet technique Strawman. If he had been able to control all 3 to infiltrate the southern purity Nanqing Palace for the assassination, he believed Li Wei would have been doomed. The puppet technique Strawman were only slightly stronger than a phoenix-winged moth emperor, but their defenses were far inferior. Under Li Wei's fiery whip attacks, 2 of the puppet technique Strawman were quickly reduced to ashes. "So it was you who tried to assassinate me. Who ordered you?" Li Weiyi's sword strikes grew faster and more dangerous with each swing, forcing Yi Baifeng into a precarious situation. He could only retreat and passively endure the onslaught. 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors danced around him, unleashing a variety of attacks that left multiple wounds and bloodstains on his body. Yi Baifeng dared not reveal the giant who had provided him with the puppet technique Strawman. After enduring dozens of blows, he was severely injured by Li Weiyi's palm strike. Blood flowed from his 7 orifices, and his limbs were broken before he was thrown into the southern Purity Nanqing Palace. Li Weiyi left the 6 phoenix-winged moth emperors to guard the palace. With his sword drawn, he pursued Yang Qingxi and Yi Nanfeng, riding the yellow dragon and soaring through the air. From afar, he unleashed a Tai opens the sea technique, dragging a brilliant trail of sword qi that intercepted Yi Nanfeng, who had activated a escape technique. Yi Nanfeng crashed to the ground. Boom! 2 colossal divine mulberry tree phantoms descended from the sky, crashing down upon his head. Countless fiery roots erupted, entangling him completely. Swish! Yang Qingxi swung her sword, unleashing a torrent of crisscrossing sword qi. The sword qi, combined with the power of the scriptures, was devastating. It severed the tendons in Yi Nanfeng's hands and feet, causing his body to collapse. Li Weiyi stood atop the shimmering image of the Fusong divine tree, sword in hand, suspended in midair. This is the strength you've cultivated in a year as a dragon seed. If I hadn't arrived in time, he would have escaped. Yang Qingxi's veil fluttered in the wind. Low-level Dao Seed Realm martial mystic cultivators prioritize evasion Dao techniques. Not everyone has your ability to use spiritual power to restrict their escape. You adulterous pair. Yang Qingxi, you and Li Weiyi will come to no good by colluding together. Ah! Yi Nanfeng was filled with resentment. He had come brimming with confidence to rescue someone, only to suffer a crushing defeat. He screamed as Yang Qingxi slapped him across the face, burying his entire head in the ground. Daring to insult the divine daughter of the divine sect. Do you still think I'm the naive young girl from the 5 Seas realm? Yang Qingxi retracted her sword and returned it to her ancestral field. Then, moving faster than Li Weiyi, she claimed Yi Nanfeng's 3rd grade 100-character artifact, the Golden Pillar. The Golden Pillar was incredibly heavy, but once stored in her ancestral field, it lost all its weight. It was a separate space she had created, capable of holding mountains and seas if her cultivation was strong enough. Li Weiyi was a step too slow, and he stared deeply at Yang Qingxi. Miss Yang, who had once led the younger generation of the Sui sect with great generosity, seemed to have changed. She was now also collecting battle treasures. Yi Nanfeng wasn't dead, only unconscious. Li Weiyi's behavior was even more unsightly than Yang Qingxi's. In front of countless divine sect disciples, he stripped Yi Nanfeng of his spiritual artifact battle armor and took his boundary pouch and money pouch. Then, he stood up and shouted to the crowd watching from afar, I know there are people from the 4th Divine Sun's residence among you. Tell Wang Shu this, if he dares to send someone to use a puppet technique strawman to infiltrate the southern Purity Nanqing Palace and assassinate me, don't blame me for being ruthless. But, every debt has its debtor. I'm a reasonable person. I only care about money and don't hold grudges. Bring 1.5 million Yongquan coins to the southern Purity Nanqing Palace within 3 days to redeem him. Yang Qingxi thought Li Weiyi was too cautious and not ruthless enough. In an elegant tone, she added, if Wang Shu doesn't come within 3 days, Yi Nanfeng, Yi Baifeng, and Zuo Sheng will be castrated and taken under my wing. The 4th Divine Sun's residence should remove its plaque as soon as possible. The rest of us divine sons and daughters can't afford to be embarrassed like this. Figures quickly surged out from the crowd, heading toward the 4th Divine Sun's residence, Spirit Valley Lingu Hall, Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall. This Divine Maiden Highness is a ruthless one. She's planning to crush the 4th Divine Sun and seize all his resources, including his subordinates and followers. If the 4th Divine Sun doesn't go to the southern Purity Nanqing Palace within 3 days to salvage the situation, his followers will inevitably lose faith and defect to other divine sons and daughters. Who would follow someone who couldn't even protect his own true inheritance disciples? Yang Qingxi and Li Weiyi returned together to the main hall of the southern Purity Nanqing Palace. This magnificent building, with its hip and gable roof, had been left behind by the ancient Bhagavata sect. Its thick, crystalline walls seemed cast from celestial jade, while the roof was covered with emerald green tiles that released wisps of cool, spiritual mist. Zuo Sheng, Yi Nanfeng, and Yi Baifeng lay inside, their limbs broken and scattered in a gruesome, undignified heap. Li Weiyi strode directly to the highest seat in the hall, the jade throne that had once belonged to Yao Qingshan. He used a jade box to preserve Qi Xiao and Tuoba Buchuo's severed arms, despite knowing the chances of reattachment were slim. Even a sliver of hope was still hope. Yang Qingxi stood in the center of the hall, scrutinizing him, to dare take you as a disciple. Could Venerable Nan also be from your Zhu Li hidden sect? Do you think the ancestor of Rice sect and the hall masters of the divine sect are fools? Could someone untrustworthy be entrusted with such a crucial role, governing the entire southern territory? Li Wei glanced at her before closing the jade box and rising to his feet. Miss Yang, you are the sixth divine maiden of the divine sect. Wang Shu has deep ties to the Wang family of the Sui sect, and the ancestor of the Sheng clan of the Sui sect is a holy spiritual master elder of the divine sect. Isn't the divine sect's full support the reason the Sui sect has seen such rapid growth over the past 1,000 years? Yang Qingxi said, the Zhu tribe has planted countless spies within the Sui sect. If the Sui sect were entirely cultivated by the divine sect, wouldn't you have known something about it? If the Sui sect truly held such power within the divine sect, would I have gone to Wang Shu to compete for people? Li Wei chuckled, who knows? Within the divine sect, there are 4 halls, each with its own interests. Even the 3 vice palace masters and the 5 great venerables of the Heaven Valley Tianjia Hall aren't a monolithic entity, are they? Every immortal realm cultivator has their own faction. Both were probing each other, seeking the information they desired. Yang Qingxi's gaze deepened. The existence of the divine sect's headquarters was a closely guarded secret before the underground immortal mansion was revealed. A year ago, with my cultivation, I had no idea that I was actually a rice folk, nurtured by my father and mother's blood. I suspect that no more than 10 people within the entire Sui sect have direct contact with the divine sect. Li Wei remained skeptical. Yang Qingxi asked, what? After all this probing, are you worried that Wang Shu and I have secretly joined forces to take you down? Miss Yang, do you truly believe that joining forces will be enough to cast me into the abyss and seal my death? If I survive, you should understand what awaits you. Li Wei advanced toward her, his aura radiating power. Yang Qingxi felt an invisible pressure bearing down on her. Wang Shu doesn't need to team up with me to deal with you now. Yi Nanfeng and Yi Baifeng are merely at the third heaven of the inferior root Dao Seed realm. Wang Shu could defeat them both with one hand. If he had been here today, you wouldn't have had a chance to escape. Wang Shu's younger brother, Wang Ji, possesses an even more terrifying dead soul seed within him. Li Wei asked, then why hasn't he shown himself? That's what worries me most. Yang Qingxi continued, the reason I didn't act earlier was to see if you could defeat Yi Nanfeng and Yi Baifeng, forcing Wang Shu to reveal himself. Only if you could achieve that would we have a chance of victory by joining forces. This outcome, though seemingly a resounding victory for us, is actually the worst-case scenario. If I'm not mistaken, Wang Shu must be at a critical moment in the process of condensing his Dao Lotus, leaving him unable to spare any attention for you. Once he breaks through to the 4th heaven of the Dao Seed realm, neither of us will stand a chance. We'll either have to submit or gamble on him not daring to enter the southern purity Nanqing Palace. But now, Venerable Nan has left headquarters, while Wang Shu's master, the vice palace master of the heavenly principles Tianli Hall, remains. With the excuse of rescuing someone, would he really dare to barge into the southern purity Nanqing Palace? Li Wei believed Yang Qingxi's analysis. This woman had commanded the younger generation of the Sui sect even during the 5 Seas realm, earning the respect of even some elders. Her wisdom and ability to analyze the situation were extraordinary. But you still made your move. Li Wei knew Yang Qingxi must have had her own agenda. Beneath her veil, Yang Qingxi's crimson lips parted slightly. Our only chance of victory now is for you to lend me the blood handprint demon armor and the ghost banner. We'll immediately storm the 4th Divine Son's residence, preventing him from forming his Dao Lotus and crippling him. Li Wei smiled, as if confirming his suspicions, and what's your justification? Without a valid reason, barging into the 4th Divine Son's residence and trying to cripple Wang Shu. Do you really think the Vice Palace Master of the Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall is made of clay? Yang Qingxi said, since we're already sworn enemies, why hesitate? Li Wei knew Yang Qingxi wouldn't dare act so recklessly without a powerful backer. It was highly likely that Yang Shenjing, the sect leader of the Sui sect, held a position of great authority within the Twin Rice sect. But Li Wei was different. He was a latecomer to the cultivation world, still unproven and untrusted. He had to tread carefully. If he attacked the 4th Divine Son's residence, even if he won, he'd die at the hands of the Heavenly Principles Tianli Hall's Vice Palace Master. The official reason for his execution would be his attempt to rescue Qi Xiao and Tuo Babuchuo. Moreover, Li Wei suspected that beneath Yang Qingxi's calm and intelligent exterior lay a reckless streak. She might seize this opportunity to eliminate both Wang Shu and Li Wei in one fell swoop. 3 days. If Wang Shu doesn't come to the southern purity Nanqing Palace in 3 days, we'll go to the 4th Divine Son's residence together and force him to act. As for the blood handprint demon armor and the ghost banner, let me consider them further. Li Wei intended to use these 3 days to break through to 3-star spiritual master. Once he succeeded, his strength would surge, allowing him to handle any unforeseen circumstances. Now, it was a race against time, a desperate attempt to surpass Wang Shu's progress. It seems that after your ancestral field was ruined, you've truly lost all drive and resentment. You're such a disappointment. I'm starting to regret intervening earlier, Yang Qingxi said, casting a dismissive glance at him. Li Huayi narrowed his eyes. Yang Qingxi, don't forget that on the bed at the Chengqing Evergreen Temple, you owe me 5 million Yangquan coins. I can hit you 5 times. If you really push me to 1 million Yangquan coins, I'll give you a good thrashing. Then you'll know what drive and resentment truly mean. Li Huayi ignored her and headed toward the back courtyard. Yang Qingxi frowned slightly, then sat cross-legged in the hall to meditate, once again attempting to break through to the third heaven of the Dao Seed realm. She decided to wait for Li Huayi for 3 days to see what he was up to. Having already broken ties with Wang Shu, she couldn't return to the goddess pavilion. Being alone was too dangerous. As Li Huayi left the green tile Great Hall and walked along the Blood Lake, heading toward the formations protecting the golden rice, he suddenly saw a big phoenix emerge from behind a rock garden. Startled, he glanced around warily. Big Phoenix's aura was now incredibly potent, and it had grown to a foot in length, officially reaching the Dao Seed realm. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 4, Xuansheng Dao Sect Twin Rice Sect. Chapter 45 300 Planting Rice with Corpse. 45th of Volume 4. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The big phoenix had 2 layers of wings. The outer layer was a dazzling display of multicolored feathers, like the wings of a phoenix. The inner layer consisted of membranous wings covered in mysterious patterns, as sharp as spiritual artifact swords. Its body radiated a 5-colored, glazed brilliance, and its 6 sharp claws were covered in dense scales, with razor-sharp hooks. Having reached the Dao Seed realm, it possessed an intimidating aura even without concealing its true qi. Alone, it could challenge a third heaven inferior root Dao Seed realm expert like Yi Nanfeng. If it summoned insect swarms to aid it, using its commander-level strength and aura, it might even defeat him. The big phoenix led the way to a low pavilion-style building near the Crimson Fire bamboo forest within the southern Purity Nanqing Palace. The air was filled with the refreshing fragrance of bamboo leaves. The 2-story pavilion had no windows, only 4-foot-high wooden walls. Li Huayi swept the pavilion clean. The bookshelves were covered in dust, as Yao Qingxian rarely visited this place. On the second floor, Tang Wanzhou sat cross-legged between 2 bookshelves, poring over a yellowed book. During the pursuit, she had been severely injured. Even her hair crown had been shattered by Yao Qingxian, leaving her disheveled. Her long hair now cascaded down her cheeks, her face ashen and devoid of color. Her spiritual artifact shoes and boots were lost, leaving her bare feet pressed against the bookshelf in a decidedly unladylike pose. Thump, thump. Footsteps echoed from the staircase. Soon, Li Huayi saw her. His headache intensified, and he nervously glanced at the distant Qinghua Jade Palace before lowering his voice. Young lord, why did you flee here? Tang Wanzhou, having failed to find the information she sought, returned the car book to the shelf and looked up. The Southern Venerable has left. Naturally, I came too. If anyone finds out, even jumping into the Sui River wouldn't wash this clean, Li Huayi said. Tang Wanzhou countered, then how can you explain your apprenticeship with a heretical sect venerable, your intimate relationship with Yang Qingxi, and your actions with your fiancé, Zhuoqiu Hongting, and Li Songgu? Li Huayi stared at her for a moment. Young lord, what's your purpose in coming to the main hall? To rescue someone, or was this premeditated? Tang Wanzhou leaned against the bookshelf, closed her eyes, and her long eyelashes fluttered. Don't be so tense. This sovereign isn't here to force you to do anything. It just so happens that the Southern Purity Nanqing Palace is the safest place for me to hide within the heretical sect's main hall. You're in a perilous situation, forced to act against your will, yet you still think of rescuing Qi Xiao and Tuo Babuchuo, even at the risk of putting yourself in greater danger. Honestly, I admire you. In terms of loyalty and righteousness, I fall short of you. Tang Wanzhou didn't give a direct answer, but Li Huayi already knew the truth. It turned out that her primary goal in gathering a large force to enter the underground immortal mansion was to lure out the Twin Rice sect. The search for the luminous star tome was merely a pretext. Li Huayi asked, I want to know, did you invite me into the underground immortal mansion to borrow the insect, or was I also bait to draw out the Twin Rice sect? Does it matter? Tang Wanzhou replied, as you said yourself, even if you hadn't come with me, you would have entered the underground immortal mansion on your own. Wouldn't the outcome have been the same? Li Huayi countered, but your plan cost many lives. Lord Hu is dead, and Tuo Babuchuo is still trapped in the 4th Divine Son's residence, having lost an arm. I deserve an explanation, don't I? You do, Tang Wanzhou conceded, then began to explain. At first, I intended to use myself as bait, but after entering the underground immortal mansion several times, the Twin Rice sect never took the bait. So, I couldn't confirm whether their main hall was even located there. To draw them out, or rather, to force them to reveal themselves, I needed to gather enough powerful cultivators to act together. But I still don't think it's enough. It just so happens that you, the Heaven's Chosen who's currently the talk of the Hidden Dragon Lantern Festival, have become embroiled in a battle against the heretical sect, relentlessly pursuing them. At the same time, they're also hunting you, seeking to capture you. I believe they're after the 7 rare insects. After all, in the environment of the underground immortal mansion, those insects could prove invaluable. Bringing you and the 7 rare insects into the underground immortal mansion would greatly increase the likelihood of luring them out. After examining your wind mansion, I actually felt a pang of regret for your talent. That's why I advised you not to go and subtly hinted at the dangers involved. Li Wei found Tang Wanzhou to be utterly devoid of emotion. She recounted everything in an eerily calm tone. To her, Tang Hu, Tuoba Buchuo, and other Northern Territory powerhouses and prodigies seemed like mere chess pieces, expendable at any moment to achieve her goals. So, all this is just to confirm whether the Twin Rice sect's main hall is located in the underground immortal mansion. Li Wei asked. Tang Wanzhou replied, do you think that's a trivial matter? Li Wei gazed out the window at the swaying bamboo branches, waiting for her to continue. Tang Wanzhou had to convince Li Wei. Only Li Wei could get her out. Thus, she spoke patiently. You've seen the strange changes on the surface. The entire prefecture is covered in countless tombstones and burial mounds that suddenly appeared, and they're spreading rapidly to Chu Prefecture and other neighboring prefectures. I've communicated with the founding ancestor of the Zhuoqiu family's Confucian Dao. Historically, there have been several similar incidents, documented in ancient texts. Some were caused by the nether realm of the dead invading, others by the revival of imperial corpses. In short, none of them were good news, and they all led to devastating calamities. One of these incidents involved the rice people. It's recorded in a chapter called, Corpse Sowing Rice. According to the records, over 100,000 years ago, the rice people set up an altar and great formation for corpse sowing rice deep beneath the life realm. Using the power of sacrifice, they channeled underground yin qi to the surface. When the rice people's pollen drifted on the wind and landed on the burial mounds, the corpses within would transform into a corpse rice army, devouring all living beings in the life realm. Afterward, the entire life realm turned into rice fields, and it remains the rice people's kingdom to this day. Li Wei frowned deeply. With so many powerful cultivators in the world, why couldn't they have flattened the tombstones and burial mounds on the surface beforehand? Since ancient times, countless people have been buried underground. Flattening one wave only leads to another growing in its place. Tang Wanzhou continued, no one knows if the strange occurrences in prefecture are related to this situation, which is why powerful figures from all the major powers have been drawn here to investigate the cause. The Twin Rice sect is suspected because heretical sects have become increasingly active in recent centuries, gradually emerging from the shadows. Their boldness in appearing openly suggests that the darkness they've been hiding in has grown to an unfathomable strength. The imperial court and the ancient myriad sects have been investigating, capturing some heretical leaders, but most are extreme followers of the Heaven Valley Tianjia Hall. Some have only heard rumors of the main hall, while others had their senses sealed upon entering and leaving them ignorant of its true nature. Yet all investigations point to the heretical sect's main hall being hidden in Fu Prefecture. 12 years ago, chaos erupted across the land. Since then, no one has had the resources to continue investigating the heretical sects, and the imperial court became a common enemy of all under heaven. Li Wei asked, could the chaos have been orchestrated by the Twin Rice sect to divert attention and incite the human race to slaughter itself? Then, while everyone is distracted, they could seize the final harvest. Tang Wanzhou pondered for a moment. From the perspective of the greatest beneficiaries, that's possible. But I don't believe they've become so powerful that they can manipulate Yu Yaozi. She continued, in truth, this matter shouldn't have fallen to me. I'm just a junior. I fear death too, and I didn't want to take such a huge risk. But it's clear the heretical sect quickly reacted to the exposure of the underground immortal mansion. They used some method to prevent anyone above the immortal realm from entering the entrance. Suddenly, I, a mere junior, became the strongest person capable of entering the underground immortal mansion. How could I refuse responsibility? Li Wei finally understood her predicament. He sighed, even transcendence couldn't break through. It's hard to say. I suspect there's a way to force entry. Tang Wanzhou continued, but do you really think Qilin Zhuang accidentally blasted open the entrance to the underground immortal mansion with a single strike? He must have realized he couldn't conquer Chu Prefecture City and the Zhu sect. Knowing it would be difficult to seize the Lingxiao realm, and unwilling to let the Twin Rice sect reap the benefits, he deliberately exposed them. A year ago, the transcendents of both the human and demon races suffered heavy losses. Few of them still possess their full strength. In such circumstances, even 2 or 3 transcendents at their peak would likely perish within the underground immortal mansion, leaving no trace behind. The terrain is too complex, everything is unknown. Who knows what schemes the heretical sect has laid? The founding ancestor of the Xuanhuan family's Confucian Dao was a proactive advocate for resolving the potential dangers within the underground immortal mansion. But he told me that when he went to the Thundercloud sect to seek an alliance, the sect's transcendents asked him if he had set up a killing formation within the mansion to trap and slaughter them. The Thundercloud sect's transcendents were relatively decent. Though wary of being manipulated by the Xuanhuan sect, they at least dispatched an immortal realm great power to Fu Prefecture to investigate. Meanwhile, when our Snow Sword Tang Court's transcendents sought an alliance, the others either feigned injury to decline or suspected the Snow Sword Tang Court of colluding with the demon race to set up killing traps within the mansion. Li Wei, not everyone in this world has a sense of responsibility. The word, unity, has been a challenge since ancient times. Unless faced with a crisis of life and death like the Qilin Zhuang and the demon race, transcendents will either suspect each other or prefer to watch others take risks, letting others die first to protect themselves. Li Wei nodded slightly. If we could achieve internal unity, dynasties wouldn't fall. The fundamental reason for disunity is that everyone is vying for power and profit. You're right, that's exactly it. Tang Wanzhou continued, take the Transcendence War of a year ago as an example. As far as I know, one fallen human Transcendence faction was quickly divided up by other human factions. Their descendants were enslaved, abused, and slaughtered until their entire clan was wiped out. It's utterly heartbreaking. How can you expect Transcendents to sacrifice themselves generously? This era of chaos is an era without rules. Even the immortal martial mystic edict faces immense resistance, and no one respects anyone else. The imperial court still holds a sword over everyone's heads. Without a decisive emperor to establish rules and restrain everyone, people can only act cautiously. That's why I understand the Transcendent's caution. So someone has to step forward, someone has to die first. That's why I came. I must bring back concrete information. Only with concrete information can we unite all possible forces and launch a direct attack, resolving the crisis before it erupts. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.